Why does it matter which arm you're carrying the weight in a suitcase carry? Good morning. Happy Friday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand and it is perfect. All right. An unusual Friday. I got somebody coming in from out of town to train, so we're gonna go take care of him later on today. So we got to dig into today's Q&A. This comes from a conversation with Dan. Dan says that I'm having trouble distinguishing how a suitcase carry promotes a contralateral max propulsion and an ipsilateral one-arm kettlebell split squat promotes an overcoming strategy on the same side as the kettlebell. And so what this really is a question about what is the influence of a unilateral load. And so what we'll do is we'll break this down into three different activities. So we'll look at normal walking, we'll look at a suitcase carry, and then we'll look at the split squat. And what you're going to see is the commonalities across all three activities. And so first and foremost, we want to look at normal walking. And so normal walking has a max propulsive moment. And so this is at maximum pronation, this is maximum force into the ground, this is maximum internal rotation. And where this would occur, if we're looking at a foot, is where this was going to occur. So remember, we have our heel rocker, the foot comes down, we've got our early propulsive foot, and then we're going to have an ankle rocker that brings the foot across. And this is where the foot starts to acquire its internal rotation, its pronation. And right as that medial heel wants to break off the ground, that's going to be max propulsion. And so when we're looking at normal walking, what we want to recognize is that the contralateral arm, so if we're looking at the left foot at max propulsion, the right arm is going to be pointing straight down towards the ground. And so this is important when we're talking about this contralateral versus ipsilateral influence, because if we go to a suitcase carry and we start to look at how a suitcase carry works, what that suitcase carry is doing is it's actually holding the arm down at this max propulsion moment in regards to what the upper extremities are doing during walking. And so now we have to say, okay, what is this ipsilateral load or contralateral load, depending on which foot we're looking at, really influence this? So if we're looking at the left foot with a right suitcase carry, we've got a right arm that's going to be held down in its max propulsive moment. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually enhance the contralateral max propulsion moment in the foot. And so what we're going to see is we're going to see an increase in the loading during max propulsion. And so we're going to have a very, very strong IR, internal rotation force, into the ground with the left foot with this right suitcase carry. And so if you watch the video here, you'll actually kind of see that there's a little bit of a limp that would be associated with this ipsilateral carry. Now this is obviously can be magnified. Like the heavier the weight that you carry, you're going to see a much more bigger compensatory strategy here. But the thing that I want you to recognize is that ipsilateral load does change things. So now if we look at this from an ipsilateral standpoint, and so I'm carrying the weight in the right arm, what I should see then is a reduction in this medial heel contact that we would associate with our max propulsive phase. And so that's exactly what happens. And so what we have now is we have the right suitcase carry on the right side inducing a lightening of this max propulsive force during the right foot contact. So this ER actually it reduces the max pronation moment. This maintains external rotation through the gait cycle, and so what we end up with is an enhancement of the posterior overcoming action on the right side with the right suitcase carry. Now, let's take this concept and let's move it to the split squat, because we're going to see the exact same thing in the split squat. So if we look at this from a contralateral perspective, I got weight in the right hand, and what this is going to do, it's going to induce a little bit more of the internal rotation on the contralateral side. So my left leg lead is now going to be able to internally rotate easier. If we looked at this from the ipsilateral perspective then, so now I'm going to have a right foot forward split squat with a right side load. What I'm going to see is I'm going to see again the inducement of a little bit more of an ER bias. It's going to enhance my ability to create the overcoming action coming up out of the split squat. So again, all we have to do is we have to look at the concepts of normal walking and then how does this ipsilateral versus contralateral load influence. And so again, if we're looking at the contralateral, we're going to enhance our ability to produce either max P or internal rotation. propulsion. And if we're looking at it from an ipsilateral standpoint, we're going to enhance the ability to ER or reduce that max propulsive phase as we're walking. So Dan, I hope that helps a little bit. If you have any other questions, please send them to askbillhartman@gmail.com, askbillhartman@gmail.com, and I will see you guys next week.